Chapter 1426 Earth Realm, To a Fateful Meeting, a Fateful Love. After 7 a.m., Su Xiangfei arrived at the Su family restaurant in a daze. When he saw the crowd gathered in front of the restaurant, he thought that he was still asleep and rubbed his eyes. Su Xiangfei, did teacher Xia not ask you to come and open the restaurant earlier last night? Why are you still so late? As he slowly walked towards the restaurant, a sound, akin to the rumbling of thunder, resonated next to Su Xiangfei's ears. After hearing this, Su Xiangfei immediately woke up and began sprinting to the restaurant subconsciously. The person who said this was Zhang Jingdong, the security guard for the Star City First High School. He was a retired veteran from the military and a very kind old man. He was well liked by the teachers and students of the high school. Furthermore, because he was an old man with unwavering principles, he also gained the respect of many people, especially a few of the misbehaving students. Old man Zhang, our restaurant's usual opening time is at 9 a.m. I have already come here early enough. I just didn't think that you all would come here this early. As Su Xiangfei spoke, he swiftly unlocked and opened the doors. Zhang Jingdong was the only person there who dared to raise his voice at Su Xiangfei. No one else standing outside the restaurant dared to do that. Everyone else just greeted Su Xiangfei, some with a tone of respect and some with a tone of flattery. The magnificent Tang Corporation was already one of the top 10 corporations globally. Although the Su family restaurant didn't seem to have any relationships with it, everyone knew that the restaurant was founded by Su Lingyun. Furthermore, Su Xiangfei was Su Lingyun's nephew, so Su Xiangfei's relationship with the magnificent Tang Corporation greatly affected the Su family restaurant's popularity. Perhaps Tang Xiu's lesson was too unforgettable. Ever since Su Xiangfei took the reins of the restaurant, it was like he had been reborn. He was no longer that show-off from back then. He was now a mature young man and had great relationships with his friends. After passionately greeting the crowd, Su Xiangfei immediately got to work. It was Xia Mingjie's 60th birthday, and his son Xia Tao was classmates with Su Xiangfei, so he asked Su Xiangfei because he wanted to help his father have a magnificent party. Once Su Xiangfei heard that it was the birthday of his respected teacher Xia Mingjie, he slapped his chest and said that he would take care of it. Then, after consulting with Xia Tao and Xia Mingjie, he got in contact with all his classmates in Class 10. This was like a high school reunion after 35 years, so the Su family restaurant would not cater to the public during Xia Mingjie's birthday party. The restaurant would only cater to the guests of the party, as well as Star City First High School's teachers and students, and Su Xiangfei footed the entire bill for the event. Because Su Xiangfei grew prosperous in these few decades as well as the great reputation that the Su family restaurant had in Star City, pretty much none of the Class 10 students rejected the invitation. Furthermore, when Xia Mingjie's own guests heard that the party was going to be at the Su family restaurant, they hurried to the restaurant early. After 2 hours, Su Xiangfei and Xia Tao finally sorted out the guests. After these 2 hours, both of them were covered in sweat, and Xia Tao looked at Su Xiangfei with immense gratitude in his eyes. Xiangfei, just a mere thank you is not enough for this. If there's anything that you need help with and I can help, feel free to call me. Xia Tao clearly did not realize that the event would take that much work. If it wasn't for Su Xiangfei's efforts and patience with every little thing that arose, he definitely would have broken down. Tao, don't be a stranger. Your task today is to take good care of teacher Xia. As for the rest, just leave it to me, Su Xiangfei replied as he wiped his forehead full of sweat. Xiangfei, I saw that you glanced over at the entrance a few times. You're waiting for Chang Yannan, right? Xia Tao realized that Su Xiangfei was not quite himself, so he decided to ask.
Yeah.
President Chang arrived in Star City last night. She should be nearly here. Su Xiangfei frowned and couldn't help himself as he walked outside. His eyes lit up very quickly. This was because he saw Cheng Yannan's car and also saw Cheng Yannan herself as well as her own personal assistant, Dai Mi. Just as Xiangfei rushed to greet Cheng Yannan, he suddenly stopped and nearly fell over. This was because he saw something and was completely surprised. The President Cheng in front of him was not the usual cold and elegant president he knew. She was embarrassed and, without hesitating, dove headfirst into another person's embrace. Furthermore, she was crying quite heavily and did not stop hitting the other person's chest. She was crying so hard that the words that she was saying were all incomprehensible. Cousin. When Su Xiangfei saw the man's face, it was as if he saw a ghost. After a while, he finally got the words out of his mouth. Xiangfei, you have done quite well. I thought that you were going to bankrupt the Su family restaurant at the start. After seeing his cousin who was seemingly in fear upon seeing himself, Tang Xiu laughed and greeted him. Cousin, it really is you. I thought that I was dreaming. After a few decades of not seeing you, you still look the exact same as before. After seeing that Tang Xiu did not hate him, Su Xiangfei immediately started to smile upon being at peace. There are too many people in the restaurant. Yannan can't possibly see people like this, so both of us won't enter. If there's anything, just call Yannan's phone. After seeing a few people who called out to Su Xiangfei walking out of the restaurant, Tang Xiu handed 2 red packets to Su Xiangfei and entered the car while holding onto Cheng Yannan. When Su Shangwen, Zhang Meiyun, and Xia Tao walked to the entrance, they only saw Tang Xiu and Cheng Yannan's back. Fei, was that Cheng Yannan just then? Since she's here, why didn't she come in? Zhang Meiyun asked with a tone of uncertainty as she watched the car leave. That was my cousin and Cheng Yannan. Since there's a lot of people at the restaurant, it wasn't good for them to show their faces, so they left after giving me their presents. Su Xiangfei wasn't quite himself as he handed the red packets to Xia Tao. Was Cheng Yannan not here to attend Teacher Xia's event? Why was it not good? Su Shangwen asked. However, as soon as he finished that sentence, he suddenly realized something. Who else did you say was here with her? Was it Cheng Yannan's older cousin? It's not Cheng Yannan's older cousin, but my older cousin. It's Tang Xiu, your nephew. Su Xiangfei explained as he looked at his father's confused expression. It's him. Did Tang Xiu not go to heaven already? When did he come back? Well, since he's back, why didn't he come and greet us? After confirming his guess, an incredulous expression appeared on Su Shangwen's face. Although other people did not know what had happened to Tang Xiu and his family, the people close to him knew that Tang Xiu was not a normal person and was a successful cultivator and an immortal. They had all ascended to the immortal world a few decades ago. Su Shangwen thought that once they ascended, they wouldn't be able to return here. This was also the reason why even though he thought the man's silhouette looked familiar, he didn't link it to Tang Xiu. Dad, Tang Xiu is not the same as us. The reason behind his appearance is probably to see whether or not the Su family restaurant still existed. At the same time, he probably also wanted to take Cheng Yannan to that place. As he thought about Tang Xiu's personality and his way of doing things, Su Xiangfei became disheartened. Tang Xiu did teach Su Xiangfei the way to cultivate and as a result, he was much stronger than the average person. However, because Tang Xiu did not provide him with cultivation resources, it was impossible for him to ascend to the immortal world unless there were special circumstances that allowed him to do so. Tang Xiu also came. If my dad heard this, he would surely be overjoyed. After a while, Xia Tao finally understood what Su Shangwen and Su Xiangfei were talking about. He was extremely excited upon seeing the messages on the 2 red packets. Then, with the red packets in his hands, he ran into the restaurant. Our family offended and treated Su Lingyun and Tang Xiu so badly back then, and yet, they were so kind as to save us from being thrown into jail and gave us the restaurant, which helped us prosper and live luxurious lives. What can we complain about? If Xiu doesn't wish to meet us, then there must still be scars in his heart. As long as we take care of the restaurant and take care of the Su family properly, then I think Shou will definitely forgive us one day. Zhang Meiyun felt ashamed when she recalled the past events. Zhang Meiyun was correct. Although Su Lingyun was a kind person and had already forgiven Su Shangwen and his family, Tang Xiu could not. This was also why Tang Xiu immediately left upon seeing Su Shangwen and Zhang Meiyun. Actually, Tang Xiu had already been at the restaurant for a while. The sight of such a crowd outside of the restaurant already scared him. After understanding the situation, he thought about going inside and greeting his past teachers and classmates. However, he dismissed this notion. After all, he no longer belonged to this world. As long as they were happy, it was enough for him. It was completely unnecessary for him to disturb their peaceful lives. As for being discovered by Cheng Yannan, that was a complete coincidence. Tang Xiu was standing in a secretive area and he even used a technique to hide from normal people. No average person would have been able to see him. However, Cheng Yannan was not a normal person. Not only did she awaken her special abilities, she even trained at the Nine Dragons Island. As the years passed, Long Zhengyu also provided her with an abundance of cultivation resources, which allowed her to become a cultivator in the early stages of the crossing tribulation stage. Other people may not have been able to see Tang Xiu, but Cheng Yannan quickly found him. When Tang Xiu realized that Cheng Yannan's fervent eyes were on him with feelings of longing written all over her face, he thought about avoiding her, but in the end, he didn't. As a result, Cheng Yannan dove headfirst into his chest. Tang Xiu, don't ever leave me behind again. Wherever you go, I will go. In all these years, I have already made all the necessary preparations. I have properly trained and nurtured Su Yanning. She can definitely take over the magnificent Tang Corporation from me. After entering the car, Cheng Yannan couldn't help but tell Tang Xiu of her thoughts. He felt the sincerity of her words and feelings. As a result, his heart was warmed. He didn't say anything, and instead, lowered his head gently and kissed her tender lips. Chapter 1427, Earth Realm, 3 Duanmu Lin's Hidden Ill Intentions, Jimu's Fortuitous Opportunity. After a few more gentle kisses and embraces, Tang Xiu took Cheng Yannan to Shanghai Airport. Actually, Tang Xiu always knew that Cheng Yannan had special feelings for him. He also admired and liked her too. However, because of his desire to ascend to the immortal world and take revenge, his mind was only on cultivation and did not bother pursuing relationships with girls, which meant that his meeting with her was a short one. Now that he didn't have the burden of revenge on his mind any longer and Cheng Yannan was the one who initiated it all, Tang Xiu was not going to reject her advances. After seeing Tang Xiu's responses, Cheng Yannan was overjoyed. She couldn't wait to be beside Tang Xiu every day and at every moment. However, she knew what Tang Xiu meant and recognized it as the truth as well. It wasn't going to be possible for them to be together all the time on Earth. After all, Tang Xiu wouldn't be staying here for a long time either. She needed to deal with all the things in the magnificent Tang Corporation and make sure that it was in capable hands when she left. It was only then that she would be able to leave with Tang Xiu without any worries. After seeing Cheng Yannan's plane take off, Tang Xiu turned and left. He looked around for a discreet place with no one around. Then, he suddenly vanished into thin air. In an instant, he appeared in the prison in Changxi. In the damp and dark underground prison, there was a malnourished body curled up at a corner. From the way they were dressed, it could be made out that they were a man, and this man was drawing on the ground with the wooden stick in his hand. From the outlines of the beautiful sketches, they seemed to be of a woman and a child. The man muttered silently as he drew on the ground. Ran, don't leave me. Ro. Your dad misses you. Ran, please don't leave me. Ro. Your dad misses you so much. If it was anyone else, all of these words would mean nothing to them. However, for Tang Xiu, these words rang like thunder. Upon hearing these words, tears began to fall from his eyes. This man was once the young master of Chengxi's Ji family, Jimu himself. Tang Xiu hadn't interacted with Jimu a lot, but his impression of Jimu was a favorable one. Flashes of his past interactions with Jimu appeared in Tang Xiu's mind. That year, he attended the underground car race in Chengxi with Qi Nan. That was where he met Jimu. That year, Jimu unintentionally bet on Tang Xiu killing a few powerful people from the Stygian club, then gifted Tang Xiu abundantly and also asked Tang Xiu to teach him. That year, Jimu decided to let go of his identity as the wealthy young master and devoted himself to Tang Xiu. He gave Tang Xiu his ancestors' growth amelioration wood and Tang Xiu gave him an opportunity in return. That year, Ran proposed to Jimu in public. However, because he was afraid that this marriage would only hinder his training, he rejected the proposal. In the end, he accepted the proposal after Tang Xiu managed to convince him to. From the start to finish, Tang Xiu did not spend too much time and effort on Jimu. He couldn't even attend Jimu's wedding because he was busy with setting up an intelligence system for the Tang sect. He only met with Jimu once right before he was about to ascend to the immortal world. And the next time he heard about Jimu was from Miao Wendong and Xiao Mingxin, who had ascended to the immortal world. A person from the Special Abilities Bureau had harmed his daughter and also inflicted heavy injuries on Jimu. Afterward, Ran had created a few explosives and blew herself up along with the people who heavily injured him. Upon knowing this, Jimu became insane and disappeared. Long Zhengyu sent people out in all directions to find him. However, it was to no avail. If it weren't for the fact that Tang Xiu had fully grasped the heavenly laws of earth and the karma links between him and Jimu together, Tang Xiu couldn't even dream that Jimu was actually imprisoned on his own territory. Upon seeing Jimu's shattered dantian, a hole right where his shoulder blade was, and the heavy chains that bound his feet, Tang Xiu's body suddenly released a powerful killing intent. Tang Xiu waved his arm and received Jimu into his own body. Then, he submerged Jimu inside a cauldron that had water from the yin-yang divinity lake that had been diluted hundreds of times. He also, with a little pain in his heart, added a few droplets of the Heavenly Path Universe Tree's essence into the water. Jimu, when I told you back then that I was going to change your life, I only gave you your Ji family's lost art. The fortune I bestowed upon you does not compare to the gift you gave me. Today, I will give you a greater fortune. As Tang Xiu spoke, he placed a finger on Jimu's forehead. He not only inserted his understanding of the Ji family's lost art into Jimu's mind but even gave him a few lost arts from the immortal world while supplying him with divine force. Jimu, submerged in the yin-yang divinity lake, cried out in excruciating pain. His skin began to break apart and peel and his flesh began to break away from his body. In the end, he was left with nearly just bones. The yin-yang divinity lake was an extremely powerful thing. Even perfected golden immortals would not be able to handle the energy from it, let alone a mere human. If it wasn't for Tang Xiu holding Jimu's spirit together with his divine force, Jimu would have already been reduced to a pile of dead bones under the attack of the energy from the yin-yang divinity lake. Under the effects of the water, Jimu was only left with his heart, skeleton, and a smidgen of his soul in his skull. Very soon, a clear change was observable with the naked eye. From a dull red color, Jimu's heart quickly became a bright red color and emitted a faint golden light. From a dull gray color, his skeletons quickly became white, then transparent, and in the end, it also emitted a golden light as well. His soul also grew thousands of times stronger than before. His spirit was originally only as large as the eye of a needle, but it was now as large as an infant's fist. It looked like it was in the fledgling stages of the soul formation stage. When the water became slightly more transparent than before, fresh blood and flesh began to grow on his skeleton that was emitting a faint golden aura before. However, the difference was that his flesh and the blood that flowed throughout his body brimmed with spiritual energy and vitality. This was mightily different from the blood and flesh that was washed away by the diluted lake water from before. When Jimu finally woke up, it had already been 3 days since then. As Jimu opened his eyes, the first thing he saw was Tang Xiu. His lips moved, but he didn't know how to greet him. Tang Xiu looked at Jimu, then said, "I already know what happened to you. I have changed you from the inside out, and you can digest that at your own pace. After digesting it, you can tell me your decision." As he was speaking, Tang Xiu's body slowly vanished into thin air, leaving a lifeless Jimu behind. Very soon after, Jimu did not have time to worry about anything else. This was because all the memories came alive within his mind like a flood of water. Ran. Ro. I will definitely avenge you and revive both of you. After half a month, when Jimu completely grasped the techniques that Tang Xiu bestowed him, his heart was filled with great ambition. At the same time, he cried out in sorrow that welled up from the depths of his heart. After hearing what Jimu said, Tang Xiu's body suddenly materialized from thin air. Then, he looked at Jimu with great satisfaction. Jimu had completely digested all of the lost arts of the Ji family as well as the lost arts of the immortal world in half a month. His body and aura were now comparable to a cultivator in the soul formation stage. Although Tang Xiu had invested a little bit too much into Jimu, his potential and cultivation did not disappoint him at all. Greetings, Master. Your student Jimu greets you. I thank you for saving and for giving me another chance at life. After he saw Tang Xiu again, Jimu was overwhelmed by his emotions and fell onto his knees. Tang Xiu frowned a little after seeing this. In the end, he still sighed, but he didn't reject how Jimu addressed him. Jimu, since you are calling me master, then I will take your karma. Are you planning on destroying the whole Special Abilities Bureau? Or are you just planning to destroy a specific branch of the Special Abilities Bureau? Tang Xiu recalled what had happened to Jimu and asked. Master, the whole Special Abilities Bureau is already corrupted and rotten to the core. They're no longer an organization that works for the country. They're now a group of thugs and scumbags, especially that Duanmu Lin. He left the Special Abilities Bureau on the surface and acted like he was ashamed that he failed you. Then, he successfully entered the pocket world that Long Zhengyu was in control of and cultivated there. However, in truth, he was actually the main person in control of the Special Abilities Bureau. Furthermore, he used us to gain a large pool of cultivation resources. It was also him who imprisoned me here. After hearing the 3 words, Special Abilities Bureau, Tang Xiu was immediately filled with rage and his voice boomed. What did you say? Duanmu Lin is still the highest figure of authority in the Special Abilities Bureau? After hearing Jimu's words, Tang Xiu was stunned. In this half a month, Tang Xiu was not always next to Jimu. After laying down heavily defensive arrays to protect Jimu, he left and secretly visited all of his old friends and family. These included the prominent families in Beijing, the Ouyang family in Hong Kong, and the prominent families in Guangdong as well. He saw that they were all living well and were happy, so Tang Xiu did not appear to disturb their lives. Instead, he left quietly. As for the great Tang Empire that was now led by Long Zhengyu, Tang Xiu monitored that quite heavily. This was because before leaving Earth, Tang Xiu had given Long Zhengyu all his resources, besides the magnificent Tang Corporation, and also asked Long Zhengyu to take care of all his friends and family. Therefore, the prosperity of the Long family also determined how Tang Xiu's loved ones were going to live. Tang Xiu was extremely satisfied with the great Tang Empire that was led by Long Zhengyu. This was because not only did Long Zhengyu reach the summit of the crossing tribulation stage, Li Laoshan also reached the great ascension stage. Yu Kai, Hu Qingsong, and Zhao Liang had all reached the soul formation stage as well. All of them stood at the pinnacle of the world and could take on the entire world if they acted together. Tang Xiu was most surprised at Duanmu Lin's growth. When Tang Xiu crossed the tribulation to ascend to the immortal world, He remembered that Duanmu Lin's cultivation was only at the golden core stage. He didn't think that after 30 years, Duanmu Lin was able to reach the Great Ascension stage. This growth was comparable to the speed of a rocket and had stunned Long Zhengyu and the rest as well. Because of Duanmu Lin's identity, Long Zhengyu and the rest of them had their guard up when they first met him. They were extremely cautious around him, as they were afraid that he was a spy that had infiltrated the Great Tang Empire. However, after witnessing Duanmu Lin kill many people from the Special Abilities Bureau without any hesitation, they began to let down their guard. "Why did Duanmu Lin imprison you?" Tang Shou asked. "It's because I had a divine stone. When I was preparing to boost my cultivation by refining the divine stone, the people from the Special Abilities Bureau suddenly appeared. Duanmu Lin also appeared, but he instantly killed everyone from the Special Abilities Bureau. He also wanted to kill me, but he felt that besides the divine stone, I had other things as well, so he imprisoned me and interrogated me frequently through torture," Jimu replied while gritting his teeth in rage. Chapter 1428, Earth Realm, for a vain death prompted by an unchangeable nature and an unquenchable thirst for power. A divine stone? Tang Shou was curious and asked. "What's special about that stone? Why do you call it a divine stone? Also, how did Duanmu Lin learn that you had the divine stone so quickly?" Around 20 years ago, our great Tang Empire came across a trove of treasures. It seemed to be a mansion that belonged to a perfected golden immortal. We found many precious things there, and among them, 3 medicinal pills were taken by Miao Wenong, Xiao Mingjin, and Long Zhengyu. Besides the medicinal pills, we also found some cultivation techniques, immortal artifacts, and a personal letter. After we distributed all the treasures, we didn't think that the personal letters were worth investigating, so we just left it aside. However, I feel that the things that were noted by a perfected golden immortal would definitely mean something, so I requested for the personal letter to investigate it. Inside the letter, the perfected golden immortal mentioned the world core. He also mentioned that the reason he had broken through the barrier between the immortal world and Earth was to search for the world core. Unfortunately, he suffered serious injuries when he passed through the barrier and that limited his mobility greatly. After I told Long Zhengyu of what I gathered from the letter about the world core, the Great Tang Empire immediately deployed men to search for it with the clues that the perfected golden immortal left behind. However, that never came to fruition. Long Zhengyu felt that if even the perfected golden immortal couldn't find it, us mere mortals would never have a chance at finding it. The search gradually crawled to an end, but I never gave up. Because of the things that happened to my family, the people from the Great Tang Empire thought I went insane, and so did the Special Abilities Bureau. However, what I didn't expect was that the people from the Special Abilities Bureau did not stop monitoring and following me. After seeing that Tang Shou showed interest in the Divine Stone, Jimu suddenly became energized, so he narrated all the events surrounding the Divine Stone. After hearing what Jimu had to say, Tang Shou could pretty much confirm that the divine stone that Jimu was talking about was the immortal world's #1, supreme divine item, the world core. The world core was the immortal world's core, which was located in the most mysterious place, the Phantasm Oblivion domain. Several eras ago, a powerful expert was able to shuttle back and forth from the God realm, and he had used the power of the world core to expand the size of the immortal world by several millions of times. In the end, the world core just simply vanished. Tang Shou did not expect to hear that the world core was now on Earth. However, after knowing that Earth was once the old God realm, Tang Shou made sense of it. The world core isn't something that a mere mortal can refine. Normal humans can only use it to increase their cultivation rate. If you want to refine the world core, you will need to be a deity and use divine force to refine it. Tang Shou looked at the dissatisfied Jimu and patiently explained, "You should be grateful that Duanmu Lin was unable to refine the world core. Otherwise, you would have already been killed because there would be no reason to leave you alive."
Ah.
Only deities can refine the world core. What's the use of the world core then? Ji Mu was overwhelmed with shock. At the same time, he was also afraid. The world core is the immortal world's core. If someone obtained the world core, they would become the lord of the immortal world and gain the power to determine the life and death of the immortal world, Tang Xiu replied. After knowing this about the world core, Ji Mu was speechless. Even though he knew that the world core was a special item, he never thought that it would be this powerful. Ji Mu, you should have already realized that you have reached a new level of strength. Now, go and do what you want to do. I only have one wish. Do not harm the innocent. Also, tell me your wife and daughter's birth dates. Tang Xiu was deep in thought for a while, then said these things to Ji Mu. Thank you for your blessings, master. I will only kill the ones who deserve to be killed. I will definitely not harm the innocent. Upon hearing that Tang Xiu approved of his thirst for revenge, Ji Mu's eyes lit up. Then, he told Tang Xiu of his wife and daughter's birth dates and hurriedly left. Tang Xiu muttered their birth dates under his breath. In an instant, he appeared on the west side of the Longquan mountain. Then, he silently entered the pocket world. There were hundreds of disciples from the Tang sect patrolling outside the pocket world. However, none of them could detect Tang Xiu's arrival. After entering the pocket world, Tang Xiu's facial expression changed. This was because he sensed the faint smell of blood and he also heard the sounds of fierce battles that raged on within the depths of the pocket world. Are Long Zhengyu and the rest just hunting the monster beasts in the pocket world to train? Or did something else happen? Tang Xiu moved immediately towards the source of the sounds. In the depths of the pocket world, Long Zhengyu was covered in blood and was heavily wounded. He was filled with rage, sorrow, and ultimately, regret. Long Zhengyu and the others were surrounded by 5 great ascension stage monster beasts. He turned his head and saw that one of the disciples of the Tang clan was crushed to death in the mouth of one of the monster beasts. Long Zhengyu had to expend his own life force greatly to kill the other monster beasts besides the great ascension stage monster beasts. Pfft, Long Zhengyu. Your selflessness is really quite moving. However, now even your own life is in danger. Do you think that you can keep protecting all of these disciples? Duanmu Lin taunted. Duanmu Lin was a few hundred meters away from where Long Zhengyu was and drove the monster beasts that approached him away with ease. Leave! Long Zhengyu yelled in rage. Long Zhengyu. You're already on the brink of death. Why don't you give me all those medicinal pills, array books, alchemy books, and artifact refinement books that Tang Xiu gave to you before he left? At the same time, why don't you also give me all the shares of the magnificent Tang Corporation, the pocket world in Longquan Mountain, and the control of the 9 Dragons Island as well? If you do this, then I will spare your lives. Otherwise, after I kill you, I will kill every single disciple of the Tang sect. In the end, all of those things will be mine either way. Duanmu Lin remained calm and advised Long Zhengyu even though he had spat on his face. Duanmu Lin, it's clear that I have been blind. I can't believe that I brought you into the pocket world. If you can, kill me. Kill all the disciples of the Tang sect. I want to see how you can control this pocket world. Long Zhengyu looked at Duanmu Lin with pure rage after killing a monster beast. After seeing Long Zhengyu's unwavering persistence, Duanmu Lin lost his patience. Duanmu Lin had always coveted power. When he knew that the pocket world in Longquan Mountain had a seemingly never-ending pool of cultivation resources, he began to scheme to take it over. However, he couldn't do anything about it when Tang Xiu was present. This was because Tang Xiu was much more powerful than he ever expected, and he was always cautious around him. This changed when Tang Xiu ascended to the immortal world. Duanmu Lin began scheming once again. He was a cunning man and did not attack the Tang sect's disciples right away. Instead, he paid a great price to invite other powerful forces to attack the Tang sect's disciples. Just as the pocket world was about to be in his hands, Miao Wendong and Xiao Mingjin dropped from the sky and easily defeated all of Duan Mulin's forces. In the end, these two people remained in Tang sect, which struck fear into Duan Mulin's heart. From then on, he did not dare to use force to take over the pocket world. After pondering for a while, Duan Mulin declared that he had left the Special Abilities Bureau and helped the magnificent Tang Corporation and the Tang sect many times to slowly win their trust. Even though Tang Xiu had warned Long Zhengyu about being on guard against Duan Mulin before he ascended, Duan Mulin still ended up gaining the trust of Long Zhengyu after a couple of decades. As a result, Miao Wendong and Xiao Mingjin did not have any objections to that either. This was how Duan Mulin slowly entered the Tang sect's core administration group. He began to enjoy more and more cultivation resources. Unfortunately for him, he couldn't interfere with how the distribution of resources worked, as well as the level of control that he could have over the pocket world. This caused him great dissatisfaction. However, with Miao Wendong and Xiao Mingjin in the pocket world, Duan Mulin didn't dare to do anything. This was because these two people were extremely powerful and could wipe the floor with the whole earth if they wanted to. Furthermore, they were both wise and experienced, so they were wary of every abnormality that happened. Duan Mulin did not act any differently to gain suspicion, but Miao Wendong and Xiao Mingjin were still suspicious of him. When Miao Wendong and Xiao Mingjin ascended, Duan Mulin got his plan into action. He began to buy and gain the trust of the people in Tang sect, then slowly made Long Zhengyu into a mere figurehead. Half a month ago, he used a newly concocted biological potion that was made in the Taklamakan Desert's secret base and added that into Long Zhengyu's food. This potion was not poisonous and was both odorless and tasteless. The only use for it was that it attracted the aggression of monster beasts. The more powerful the beast, the stronger the attraction. Therefore, the moment Long Zhengyu brought the Tang sect disciples into the depths of the pocket world to train, their tragic fates had been sealed already. Long Zhengyu, is it not better to live than to die? Even if you are not afraid of death, you should think of your family. If you are willing to give me the authority and full control of the pocket world, then I will guarantee that the Long family will continue to prosper for as long as I live. How does that sound? Duan Mulin looked at Long Zhengyu, who was struggling to hold himself up. Then, he said, if you don't recognize the opportunity that's presented in front of you, then don't blame me for killing you and the Tang sect's disciples. Once I do that, I will kill every single one of your family members under the accusation of betraying the country. You shameless man. After hearing the words that came out of Duan Mulin's mouth, Long Zhengyu collapsed to the ground and could not get up. All of his energy was already spent. He could only look at Duan Mulin with pure rage and said, Duan Mulin, you will pay for what you have done. You will die painfully, and no one will care. Is that right? I'm not the one who's going to die. You are. Upon seeing the despair in Long Zhengyu's eyes, a sinister look flashed across Duan Mulin's face. Then, he said, I will give you 10 more breaths to reconsider. If you are still as stubborn then, don't blame me for being ruthless. He doesn't need to reconsider. Instead, you are the one who will need to think. Think about how you are going to preserve your worthless little life. Just when Duan Mulin's eyes were fixated on Long Zhengyu, ready to kill him, a voice akin to thunder rang next to his ears and almost caused his soul to scatter. On the contrary, this voice was like an angel's voice to Long Zhengyu's ears. He looked at the person behind Duan Mulin and then fainted directly. Chapter 1429, Earth Realm, 5 Those whom the heavens wish to destroy, they first make mad. The moment Long Zhengyu fell from the sky, the 5 monster beasts that had the upper hand in the battle swarmed forward to devour him. The Tang sect disciples struggling to hold off the group of monster beasts cried out in alarm when they saw that Long Zhengyu was about to get eaten and their eyes filled with despair. The next moment, the 5 peak stage Great Ascension monster beasts disappeared into thin air, as though they were illusions and had never existed all along. The monster beasts that had been swarming the hills and trampling the Tang sect disciples also faded out of existence. Having barely escaped the gates of death, the Tang sect disciples looked around with fear still lingering in their minds. As they tried to comprehend how they managed to survive the ordeal, the disciples noticed that Tang Xiu was approaching them. They greeted Tang Xiu emotionally and sat down cross-legged to recover while he returned their greeting. Duanmu Lin, who gave you the guts to cast your eyes on the great Tang Empire? Tang Xiu, after taking care of the monster beasts and settling down the Tang sect disciples, turned to question Duanmu Lin in a harsh voice. Duanmu Li had actually thought of escaping while Tang Xiu was greeting the Tang sect's disciples. However, he knew Tang Xiu's personality too well. Since he would have to face Tang Xiu's pursuit even if he managed to escape from this pocket world, he decided that he might as well take on Tang Xiu right at this very moment. Tang Xiu, you speak so loudly and proudly of the great Tang Empire, yet do you even hold the country in your heart? Duanmu Lin calmed himself down and responded loudly with a question of his. Duanmu Lin, you are too naive. The things I've done for the country, you should know better than I do. If I don't hold the country in my heart, will the country be as prosperous as it is now? Will it lead the trends of technology, culture, and economy of the world as the strongest country? Tang Xiu cast a gaze full of irony at Duanmu Lin as if he was speaking to a retard. Tang Xiu, the benefits you've brought to the country are but mere specks of sand slipping through your palms. The great Tang Empire consumed and occupied so much of the country's resources, and with them, your empire has developed and trained a powerful army. Just the fact that the great Tang Empire poses a threat to the country is a good reason to have you die thousands of times. Duanmu Lin, triggered by Tang Xiu's gaze, denounced him in a righteous tone. If you're gonna shove ridiculous arguments down my throat, I don't see why I have to reason with you anymore. Hearing Duanmu Lin's seemingly upstanding words, a sense of disgust emerged from within him. Sighing, he twisted and closed his palm. Then a stone glowing in a rainbow hue flew from Duanmu Lin and landed safely on Tang Xiu's palm. Duanmu Lin was celebrating his verbal victory over Tang Xiu when he suddenly noticed that the world core in his storage ring appeared in his enemy's hand. His expression took a quick turn for the worse, the speech he had prepared beforehand now stuck in his throat. An owned storage ring could not be opened by anyone apart from the owner. Others could only open a ring if the owner had died and the soul imprint was removed. Yet, he was sound and alive, nor were there any signs of abnormality on the soul imprint on his ring. Having the most precious item hidden in his ring stolen by Tang Xiu, Duanmu Lin was not only nervous about having lost the world core, but he also feared Tang Xiu's strength. The thing he feared more, though, was that he was the only one who knew of the existence of the world core apart from Ji Mu. However, the first thing Tang Xiu did was take it from his ring. This made him wonder if Tang Xiu knew what he had done to Ji Mu. Duanmu Lin, are you going to continue your act? Noticing the nervous look and fluttering emotions on his face, Tang Xiu couldn't help but grin. Presenting yourself as the hero of justice all the time, don't you get tired? Ji Mu told me everything already and there are no outsiders here, so there's no need for you to act anymore. Give it back, give the world core back. Duanmu Lin was still struggling whether to continue putting up his act or just turn hostile, but he made his mind up instantly once he heard what Tang Xiu said. His expression quickly turned into a sinister one. As Duanmu Lin spoke, he flicked his arm to reveal a golden gun barrel and aimed it at Tang Xiu. Tang Xiu, this is an energy pistol that took the Taklamakan Desert secret base 30 years to develop. Just one shot is enough to destroy a pocket world. If you don't want to die, you better hand the world core back. Will you let me go if I return it to you? Sensing the destructive power within the energy pistol, Tang Xiu looked worried and asked with a tense expression. The world core was mine, to begin with, it's only natural for you to return it to me. Also, give me your storage ring along with all the funds and resources the great Tang Empire has. If not, I'll not only end your life but also decimate the great Tang Empire as well. Duanmu Lin started laughing at the sight of Tang Xiu's troubled face. Actually, I should be thanking you. If you hadn't handed over the technology from the 3-star vestiges to the country, we couldn't have invented this world-obliterating weapon. Now that our country has such a weapon, the entire world will kneel before the power of our weapons. Unfortunately, Xiaomingzhen and Miao Wendong left too soon. If not, I would have given them a shot each for all the troubles they caused for the Special Abilities Bureau. Tang Xiu, I bet you never expected us to create an energy pistol which was on par with the weapon of a powerful expert from the immortal world, right? No matter how hard and fast you cultivate, no matter how strong you become, one shot is all I need to turn you into dust. Tang Xiu, you've been an eyesore for so long. I've always wanted to get rid of you and the great Tang Empire. Thanks to your empire, our Special Abilities Bureau has always been shoved down the pecking order, so much that we can't find our reason to exist. The country can't even breathe because of your empire's existence, and it has become the largest source of instability for the country. For the few years after you've ascended, the great Tang Empire almost reigned over the country. You people keep showing your superiority to the government, keep flaunting your strength in front of the Special Abilities Bureau, suppressing us to the point that we had no way to retaliate. But now, with the energy pistol, we will slowly eliminate all cultivators so that only special ability users of China remain. We're the world's true enforcers. Perhaps he had been repressing his emotions and constraining himself for too long. Duanmu Lin ditched his disguise and revealed all of his inner thoughts. He didn't hold back his words at all, and a crazed smile had crept upon his face as well. Those whom the heavens wish to destroy, they first make mad. Tang Xiu merely snickered and waved his hand. The energy pistol in Duanmu Lin's hand was gone without a trace, along with his cultivation and special abilities. If it had been another person, the energy pistol might have indeed frightened them, and even peak stage crossing tribulation experts might have surrendered under its threat. However, the 12 zodiac jade carvings within his body had suddenly activated when he had become a deity, and the heavenly laws of Earth had come under his complete control, so he could create or destroy anything on Earth with just a single thought, and this spelled tragedy for Duanmu Lin. It did not take long before Duanmu Lin noticed the abnormality. One moment he was blabbering about his plan to destroy the world, the next moment his energy pistol was nowhere to be found. Shocked, Duanmu Lin tried to pull out another energy pistol from his storage ring in haste only to realize he could no longer access it, almost as if it had turned into a decorative ring. He then discovered that his entire cultivation base had disappeared along with his special abilities. No, this isn't real, I must be dreaming. When Duanmu Lin realized that he had suddenly aged a few decades in a matter of seconds, and was now nothing more than an ordinary old man who had half a foot inside his coffin, he finally knew what true terror felt like. Duanmu Lin tried everything he could to open the storage ring. He then tried to circulate the true essence energy within his body. At last, he attempted to use his special abilities. Duanmu Lin repeated these actions several times yet failed on each occasion, and half an hour later, he had become completely drenched in sweat as though he had been dunked in water, and his face had taken a deathly pale shade. During the whole process, Tang Xiu did not say a single word. He simply looked at Duanmu Lin's desperate struggle, his eyes filled with ridicule. The Tang sect disciples had been terrified by Duanmu Lin's energy pistol. Added with his insane speech about how he was going to destroy the world, the disciples had been in fear and trepidation. However, after witnessing Duanmu Lin's changes, the Tang sect disciples couldn't help but cheer. As they looked down on him with contempt, they also directed their ardent gazes at Tang Xiu. Although they didn't know how Tang Xiu did it, they were sure that he was responsible for the changes. Your Majesty, I was wrong. I shouldn't have laid my hands on Ji Mu, I shouldn't have cast my eyes on the great Tang Empire. Please, I beg you, return my cultivation to me. I will serve you and the great Tang Empire faithfully for all eternity. Your Majesty, the country trusts and relies on me a lot now. If you spare me, I will find some way to let people of the Great Tang Empire dominate the political scene in the country. The whole country will belong to the Great Tang Empire. When Duanmu Lin finally understood that all his efforts and struggles were in vain, he quickly knew what the fundamental issue was. He did not hesitate to bow down and beg Tang Xiu with tears and snot all over his face. Sorry, the Great Tang Empire doesn't need a backstabbing person like you, nor do I think the country needs such an unfaithful, unjust, unkind, and unfilial person like you. I gave you a chance once, but you failed to make good of it. Tang Xiu sighed, then pointed his finger at Duanmu Lin. Hearing Tang Xiu's response, Duanmu Lin was filled with pain. He was still trying to come up with words to save his own life when he saw Tang Xiu point his finger at him, and then, Duanmu Lin could not say anything more, for his world had faded into darkness. Chapter 1430, Earth Realm, 6 Tang Sect Enforcers wipe out the dissidents, World Core's divine power. Around the same time when Tang Xiu killed Duanmu Lin, Jimu also wreaked havoc in the Chengxi Special Abilities Bureau. After his so-called resignation from the Special Abilities Bureau, Duanmu Lin had transferred a majority of his aides from Beijing to Chengxi City, so it had become the second command center for special ability users other than the main branch in Beijing. Over the past few decades, Duanmu Lin had gained complete control of the Special Abilities Bureau while remaining behind the scenes and had the members of the Bureau do all the disreputable things that were inconvenient for him to handle personally. This included tracking, capturing, and interrogating Jimu, so the Chengxi Special Abilities Bureau didn't have any innocent members. After eliminating the members of the Chengxi Special Abilities Bureau, Jimu combed through all the records stored in the Bureau, and after a day of research, he found a comprehensive list of all of Duanmu Lin's aides and also learned of the voracious desires of the Special Abilities Bureau, after analyzing the numerous records. Initially, Jimu planned to kill his way into Beijing after wrecking the Chengxi Special Abilities Bureau to make the members of the main branch crumble in despair. However, after learning about the grand plan of the Special Abilities Bureau, he directly entered the pocket world and handed over all the information he had gathered from the Bureau's Chengxi branch to Tang Xiu. Duanmu Lin is really too bold. A frosty expression appeared on Tang Xiu's face once he went through the information gathered by Jimu. His loyalty to the country that he kept spouting about was probably all fake. The only one he is truly loyal to is himself. Sigh. Even I'm left speechless by Duanmu Lin, this sly old fox. Other than Jimu, Long Zhengyu was the person who had been deceived most tragically by Duanmu Lin. Even he couldn't help but sigh after he finished reading Duanmu Lin's plan. Zhengyu, Jimu, summon all the Tang Sect's disciples and get rid of the people on this list. I'll make a trip to Beijing to meet a few elders. Tang Xiu decided after pondering on it for a while. Long Zhengyu and Jimu revealed excited expressions after hearing this. Before he had ascended, Tang Xiu had repeatedly warned them not to get into a conflict with the country and told them to avoid any confrontations as much as possible. This really tied their hands whenever they dealt with the government, and even the members of the Special Abilities Bureau looked down on them. However, Tang Xiu had now given them free rein to handle the members of the Special Abilities Bureau, so they were obviously delighted by the turn of events. Tang Xiu then met with the disciples of the Tang sect and teleported to Beijing after giving them some words of encouragement. We must act with haste. Although the sect master doesn't venerate the country, he's pretty sentimental towards it, or else he wouldn't have repeatedly warned us to avoid any confrontations with the country. I suspect that the reason he allowed us to get rid of the Special Abilities Bureau this time is that Duanmu Lin infuriated him, so the time given to us by him is quite limited. He definitely won't allow us to continue with the slaughter, as that would lead to unrest in the country and harm the bigger picture. Indeed. Master places a lot of importance on the bigger picture and also loves the country a lot, or else he wouldn't have gone to visit the elders in Beijing and would have accompanied us instead. Long Zhengyu and Jimu acted swiftly after Tang Xiu left. At the same time, the disciples of the Tang sect that were spread across the country felt their blood boil in excitement when they received the summoning orders. In less than a day, the disciples of the Tang sect had assembled into teams at the 40 or so provincial capitals of the country. And the Special Abilities Bureau got completely wiped out before they could even realize anything. It was close to a perfect ambush where the Tang sect's disciples practically steamrolled their opponents. The haughty members of the Special Abilities Bureau didn't even have a chance before the strength of the Tang sect's disciples. By the time Long Zhengyu and Ji Mu made blood rain in all parts of the country, Tang Xiu had already arrived in a courtyard located halfway up a mountainside in the middle of Beijing. The elders were having tea and discussing some of the internal affairs of the country when Tang Xiu descended into the courtyard suddenly, spooking the daylights out of them. The elders obviously knew Tang Xiu since he was the core member of the Tang family, the once #1 family in China, and had a deep impression of him. While the others weren't aware of why the Tang family had withdrawn their core power and disappeared, these old men were in the know about it. Hence, these elders felt respect and gratitude for Tang Xiu, the core of the Tang family, because they knew that if the Tang family hadn't chosen to withdraw their core power, the country's authority would have long fallen into the Tang family's hands, and they would have never got the chance to take the reins. Moreover, if the Tang family hadn't handed over the technology from the 3-star vestiges to the country, China wouldn't have become the leading figure of the world in terms of science and technology. And if the Tang family hadn't restricted the Tang sect's disciples, the country wouldn't have achieved its current prosperity and stability. The Tang family had invested a lot into the country, yet they never asked anything in return for it. Elders, the reason I came over this time is to give each of you an immortal pill that can extend your lifespan by 50 years, and also make you dissolve the Special Abilities Bureau and allow the Tang sect's disciples to act as the enforcers of the country on Earth. The disciples will listen to all your orders. How about it? Once the elders had gone through all the information collected by Ji Mu, he revealed the purpose behind his visit straightforwardly. This Duanmu Lin ought to be put to death for conspiring against the country. The Special Abilities Bureau is no longer the same as when it was established and has instead become an ailment plaguing the country, so it's time to get rid of this ailment now. We have already received a lot of reports this past year and were aware of the rampant and nefarious conduct of the Special Abilities Bureau. However, we didn't take any measures lest it leads to unrest, but now that Sect Master Tang has made a proposition, we shall act accordingly and dissolve the Special Abilities Bureau. Tang Xiu's words received the approval of all the elders, but they kept silent about allowing the disciples of the Tang sect to become the official enforcers of the country. Tang Xiu knew these elders had a few misgivings in their hearts, but he didn't point it out and instead sat down to have tea with them and also narrated some anecdotes from the immortal world to them. This made their hearts itch and made them subconsciously feel a lot more apathetic about the secular world's authority. Tang Xiu then showcased a set of therapeutic boxing maneuvers for them and helped them strengthen their bodies a bit. Before they knew it, an entire day had passed. Just when Tang Xiu was planning to get up and bid them farewell, a figure rushed out from the interior of the courtyard suddenly and whispered into one of the elders' ears. The elder was alarmed after listening to it and directed a gaze full of uncertainty at Tang Xiu, before letting out a long sigh in the end. Sect Master Tang, please wait a moment. We agree with allowing the Tang sect's disciples to become the official enforcers of the country that you mentioned before. With this promise, Tang Xiu had succeeded in his purpose behind his visit to Beijing on this occasion. Elders, please rest at ease. Although the disciples of the Tang sect are quite powerful, they are devoted to cultivation and have no ambitions of becoming the rulers of the country. So, unlike the Special Abilities Bureau that dipped their fingers in the power struggle, they will only appear when necessary to protect the country. I request the elders to avoid calling upon the disciples of the Tang sect as much as possible unless the country is facing danger. After all, it's best to allow the corresponding departments of the country to deal with some of the minor affairs. Tang Xiu smiled and then disappeared into the skies. The elders smiled at each other when they saw Tang Xiu leave with ease. By the time Tang Xiu returned to the pocket world in Longquan Mountain, Long Zhengyu, Ji Mu, and the others were already waiting for him there. To his surprise, even Dai Xinyue was present. Tang Xiu held complex emotions for Dai Xinyue. While he was in the Chinese medical hospital of Star City, Tang Xiu had come to appreciate her kind-hearted, hard-working and introspective nature and hence took her in as his disciple. However, Dai Xinyue was too devoted to medicine and had an average cultivation aptitude too. Her cultivation was also delayed often by all kinds of major operations, so she was only an early-stage golden core cultivator till now, and this was also because Long Zhengyu had always shown favor to her by giving her more cultivation resources. Contrarily, her achievements in the medical field were indeed extraordinary. In just a few decades, Dai Xinyue had become the top medical expert in the medical circle of the country and had even gained the moniker of Miracle Healer Guanyin, and even received a Nobel Prize in the medical field while representing the country. Actually, Tang Xiu had used his divine sense to locate Dai Xinyue when he had arrived on Earth. She was in the middle of a major operation along with a team at that moment, so he didn't disturb her. "Master, this disciple has failed you." Dai Xinyue kowtowed towards Tang Xiu when she saw him with an ashamed look on her face. "Xinyue, you have done well. Everyone has their own path in life, saving the dying and the injured is your calling. If you can keep pressing on ahead, your future achievements definitely won't be inferior to your fellow apprentice brothers." After comprehending the heavenly laws of Earth, Tang Xiu had a deeper understanding of the truth of the world, so he didn't believe that Dai Xinyue was taking the wrong path. Dai Xinyue felt ecstatic after hearing her master acknowledge her choice instead of reprimanding her, and the smile on her face also became deeper. After having some small talk with Long Zhengyu, Ji Mu, Dai Xinyue, and the others, Tang Xiu entered the depths of the pocket world impatiently and took out the world core he had seized from Duanmu Lin. Whether it was when he was having tea with the elders in Beijing who stood at the summit of the country or when he was talking to Dai Xinyue and the others, Tang Xiu's full attention was on the world core the entire time because he had heard a lot of rumors about this item that had become a myth of the immortal world. Would refining the world core really allow me to control the immortal world? Wouldn't that mean I will be able to travel between the three realms freely? Tang Xiu poured a smidgen of divine force into the world core while harboring such thoughts in his mind. In the next moment, Tang Xiu's body disappeared from the pocket world and appeared in an entirely unfamiliar world. However, when Tang Xiu saw the scenery before him, a stupefied look appeared on his face.